Hello friends, I am excited to be back with you guys talking about rupture and repair. What do we do when we lose our cool? So just to start us off, I want you to listen to this next sentence, okay? So when you lose your cool, it is not an issue with you. It's not a you thing. It is a human thing. What I mean by that is that when we are human, as we are, we lose our cool. We make mistakes. We have conflict in relationships. It's part of being a human being. It's part of living in this world. And so throughout the rest of this conversation, I want you to remind yourself, this isn't a me thing. I am not a bad parent or a bad person because ruptures happen and because this topic relates to me. It relates to all of us. It's a human thing, and ruptures happen. And so when we talk about ruptures throughout the rest of this, it's any time that there is a conflict or a discord or just a break in the relationship, whether it's something that you did or didn't do, whether something your child did or didn't do. It's whenever that break happens is what we're calling the rupture. And oftentimes we get really focused on the rupture itself, when really what I want us to do is shift and look at, okay, the rupture happened. We can't take it back. It happened. It's going to happen because remember, it's a human thing. But we want to shift to, okay, but how can we make a repair? Because the repair is where the growth happens and the connection happens and where our relationships strengthen. So oftentimes when I'm talking about rupture and repair with clients, a lot of different stuff can come up in that process. And that's because a lot of our feelings and emotions around rupture and repair, specifically in the parenting realm, really boil down to how this process was modeled for us when we were children. Oftentimes, I think about 3 different camps that maybe you were raised in with your parents. Unless your parents really modeled this well for you, in which case tell them thank you, because that's going to make this process a lot more comforting for you. But typically it's one of these 3 camps. It's either when a rupture happened, so maybe mom or dad yelled, or maybe there was an upset promise or an unkept promise. Either it was brushed under the rug and never talked about again. So it happened and then things just continued and mom went and cooked dinner and we never talked about those emotions and what took place in that situation. Or there was this forced apology, this, okay, tell me you're sorry, or hey, I need to hear that you're sorry, or okay, fine, I'm sorry. This forced apology, as if those 2 words, I'm sorry, really do heal us emotionally. And yes, they're powerful words, and that's a whole other topic, but in these situations, when it's a forced apology, it leaves a lot of emotions unattended to, and that can create conflict in itself. And then the 3rd camp is when our parents harp on things over and over and over. So 3 days later, or maybe even just 3 hours later, we're still having to hear about how we threw that dang crayon, or how we didn't share with our sister. And so even if we're trying to move forward, we can't because we're continuing to harp on it. So there's never that closure process. So if your parents fell into one of those categories, then when you think about rupture and repair in your own life, it might be something that feels really uncomfortable. And I want you to pay attention to that, because that's where the growth of this work happens, is when we can challenge the way that things are modeled for us and begin to do them differently. But if we don't tune into that, then we will naturally do what was done to us, because we do what we know until we learn a new way of doing it. So as we talk about these conflicts and ruptures and repairs, I want us to boil it down to 7 different steps for how do we handle the repair after the rupture takes place. So we already know that the rupture is going to happen. Sorry, hate to break it to you, it's going to happen. But how do we handle the repair where the growth happens? So the first thing is, I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to just exhale, remind yourself that you're human, that you're going to get through this, and just let yourself take a deep breath. After we take that deep breath, I want you to wait for the calm. What this means is, if a tantrum is still happening or a meltdown is still happening, let's not jump in with justifications and rationalizations and explanations and all of these different things, but let's wait for the calm. If a tantrum or meltdown is happening, our child's brain is not in a place to receive information, and so we need to wait for the calm to come. Our 3rd step is to think through our response. If we just kind of wing it or fly by the seat of our pants, then we tend to not really mean what we say. We tend to have those kind of more half-hearted apologies of, okay, I'm sorry that it happened that way, and then we're moving on. But remember, the repair process, we want it to be intentional and connecting. And so I want you to think through, what is your response going to be? This could be a 30-second quick think through, or it might be, hey, I'm going to give myself an hour to just walk away and think about what's happening, and then we're going to circle back to it. So paying attention to what you need, but remembering that this could be a quick process, but I want you to just think intentionally about what your response is going to be. After that, I want you to open up a two-way dialogue. What this means is that we're not going to go into lecture mode. We're not going to talk at them. We're not going to just fill up all the space with our own adult words. And we want to open up a two-way dialogue so that we can receive the feedback that maybe our child has for us. We can open up the road to hear from them, and also for us to be able to express what's going on with us in that. Okay, so we want to open up that two-way dialogue. We also want to own our mistakes and talk about what's going to change. So as we open up that two-way dialogue, right, we want to really identify, hey, I wanted to say sorry that I raised my voice whenever we were in the kitchen earlier. I was feeling really frustrated and I raised my voice, and that's not how I want to talk to you ever again. And so next time I'm feeling frustrated, I'm going to work on taking some deep breaths, or I'm going to work on using a calm voice. So we're identifying what went wrong, and we're saying how things are going to change. And what we're doing for them is we're modeling what it looks like to care enough about a relationship, enough about the other human being, to put ourselves in this vulnerable place of owning our mistakes, but also identifying, okay, this is what I'm working on. So we're giving them ideas of, when I'm frustrated, I usually raise my voice. So now maybe I'm going to try taking a deep breath. So we're kind of building up their toolbox in that also, while also giving ourselves the accountability of, okay, I said I'm going to take a deep breath next time. And next time, I'm going to try to take the deep breath. The rupture might happen again, and that's okay. It's a growth process, right? We're just trying. We're just taking small baby steps in that direction. So after we have owned our mistake and said what we're going to change about it, I want you to then focus on validating the emotions that are present. So if our child is feeling sad or angry or frustrated or disappointed in the way that interaction happened, I want us to okay that and to say, I hear that was really sad for you, or that you felt really upset with how that happened. It's okay to feel upset. It's okay to feel frustrated with me. And just validating that emotional experience. It can be easy to want to justify, to say, well, no, it wasn't that bad, or you don't need to be mad at me, okay? I said I'm sorry. We just want to let their emotions be. We're giving them the okay to feel that. And so we want to validate whatever emotions we might see that are present for our child. And then the last step is we want to connect and move forward, right? So this is kind of talking about that parent that I said kind of harps on things over and over again. So when this repair happens, when this moment, and again, this could be a 30-second, 1-minute moment with a 3-year-old, because that's about the attention span, or it might be a longer conversation if that's the place that they're in to be able to have that. But as we close that out, I want you to find a way to connect. For your child, it might be a hug or a high five or eye contact. It might just be a simple, all right, I love you, and I'm ready to move on to something new with you. Would you like to color, or do you want to go outside and run around the backyard? Whatever it might be. So we're finding a really strong connection point, and then we're moving forward. We're giving them permission to move forward and to know that this is not something that we're going to harp on over and over again. Now, we're not forcing a closure. There might be lingering feelings, and that's okay. But we're just letting them know that as far as we go, as the parent, as the adult in the relationship, we are letting it be closed if they're ready for it to be closed. So I know that's a little bit of a lengthy process, but the overarching aspect is being intentional and giving yourself a chance to make these repairs when the rupture happens. Now, sometimes we have days where the whole day is 500 ruptures that are just all melted into one intense storm. And I want to remind you that the goal is not perfection in this. We will never be able to repair every single rupture that happens. The goal is to just try. The goal is to just think about it, to start to imagine what might it be like for me to apologize for something that maybe I did that didn't feel good in relationship to my child. And if just the thought of that feels overwhelming or really uncomfortable, then I want you to pay attention to that and tune into that and maybe think about where that's coming from. And so again, the goal is not perfection. It's just a little bit of progress. It's just thinking about it and beginning to implement it, trying it out, seeing how it feels, and being honest with yourself in that process. So if for you this feels scary and overwhelming and impossible and maybe even silly or pointless, then I would just encourage you to reach out. Send me an email. I'd love to talk with you about it. I am walking clients through this process often. You are not alone in this being uncomfortable. But I do want you to be able to come to a place where you feel like you can do this, where you feel empowered and equipped to be able to make these repairs, because there is so much growth that happens and our children are able to experience healthy relationship repair when we can model that for them. So if you have questions or if this is something that you want to talk more about, feel free to email me or to jump over to my website at atlantaparentingtherapy.com, and I would be happy to talk with you more. I'll put a link to a download in here that will have those 7 steps that I went through. So if it feels helpful, you can maybe print it and put it on your refrigerator or put it in your bedroom or something, a place that you can reference it. Keep doing what you're doing. You are an excellent parent, and I am just delighted to be able to walk in this process with you. All right, until next time.